At the ascension point, this great flash happens, right? So we've had 3 days of darkness, more or less. We've had this massive eruption of light that comes from the sun. That's what breaks the false matrix, good and solid. So what is ascension? Is it an individual process, or is it a collective whopper? Is it a big bang moment? Is it a light in the sky? Nobody can miss this type of event. It's both. It's the softly, quietly, day by day, when no one's looking, evolving and upgrading and ascending and doing your own inner work that nobody gives you accolades for, that nobody can see, that nobody acknowledges. That's the personal ascension journey. See, it's kind of like when you go to college or university. You don't talk about, the day I wrote my exam, or when I did that college exam. No, you talk about when I was in college, right? As in the years. Was it 2, 3, 5, 7, however many years you were at college for, you'll talk about that period of time, not the exam at the end. Right? And no, Ascension's not an exam, and no, you can't pass or fail. But I want to give you some kind of idea of the lunacy of talking just about Ascension instead of the importance of where we are right now. We're on the journey. We're in preparation for the greatest phase shift that we could possibly undergo. Ascension is a massive burst of light that comes from the sun. The sun receives a signal from the galactic sun, which has received a signal from the universal sun, which are all portals. That's what the suns are. They are portals of consciousness. Maybe I should do a video, actually, now that I think about it. I always get these ideas while I'm talking to you, but I don't want to shoot off on 1,000 tangents. So let me try and reel myself in and keep myself to this conversation about ascension. It is a lights in the sky event. Absolutely. The micronova, not macro, micronova, is what most people would deem to be an extinction level event. It is a mass coronal ejection from the sun. It's called the event. It's called the flash, the solar flash. It's called ascension. Call it by any name you want to. Nobody is going to be going about their day making a cup of tea. You're gonna know. Days before the ascension happens already, you're gonna know, because it starts getting darker and darker before ascension. I've got 2 videos, I will link them below, that go more into the detail about what happens before ascension and what happens at the actual ascension journey. I want to talk more about this micronova right now, because there's a question I've had from a couple of you. And that is, are you sure it has to be that way? Are you sure it has to be this big lights in the sky event? Can't we just go about our business and one day somebody says, hey, remember that person, and suddenly they're not there anymore? Oh, it's because they've popped off into 5D. We're coming to the end of an era. We're coming to the end of the false matrix. This is the biggest thing that could happen to your body, to our planet, and it leaks out. It's not just the biggest thing that can happen to your body and our planet. It leaks out into the solar system, into the cosmic field around us. The entire galaxy will feel the ripple of ascension, and wait for it, not just the entire galaxy. The entire universe will feel the ripple of the ascension wave that we're here to participate in, because it marks the end of the grip of the false matrix, of so many recycles. I was going to say cycles of time. It's like we've been recycling time, recycling lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. This is why so many people are so exhausted. We're bringing that madness of the false matrix to an end. And I call it madness because it's the madness of manipulation. It's the madness of the forsaking of free will and personal responsibility, which led to humanity seeking an easy way out to let somebody else govern them, somebody else lead them, and that didn't work out really well. The people that came in and knocked on the door and said, hi, we're here to lead you, they weren't going to tell the truth, which is, hi, we're here to take you over. Nobody's going to come knocking on your door and say, hey, I'm here to rob you. Well, maybe they will. I'm South African, I should know. Now, that definitely does happen. Sorry, bad example. The archons, that set up the false matrix, they did it under the guise of trickery and deception. They didn't knock on the door and say, hey, we're here to take you over. They knocked on the door and said, we've come here to make your life easier. We've come here to save you from yourself. Now tell me if the story sounds familiar. You need us. Without us, you're not going to make it. Without us, there's going to be a cataclysm right in front of you. You need us to solve all of your problems and make decisions for you because you can't make them on your own. You're messing up. You're going to make the wrong decision. You're going to make the wrong move. And lucky for you, we were in your neighborhood, so we just thought we'd pop on in and save the day. You can't make responsible decisions for yourself. We've got all of these charts and all of this evidence that's manufactured that says, look at the doom. Without us, you would have walked right into this trap. And humanity was so quick to go, oh, okay, yeah, come rescue. Yeah, come save us. And so humanity used their free will, and it was under the guise of manipulation, but it was still free will to set up this thing called the false matrix. And in setting up the false matrix, we doomed ourselves to lifetimes of suffering. And I know the question, I know it because I get asked it all the time. How could God allow this? Because you are God and you allowed it. And you said, I can do this. I can come back to myself. And it's one of the hardest lessons to learn, but I'm going to learn it anyway. And that is about how powerful I am. That is about how when I give away my power, it never works out well. And if I've got to go through recycling so many lifetimes to learn this thing, then I'll learn it, because if God comes to save me, or a knight in shining armor, or some angelic superhero, or some galactic super team, if they come to save me from myself, I'm only going to be bamboozled again the next time somebody shows up and says, hi, I'm here to save you. If I go through what we're all going through right now, you think you're ever going to give your power away again? No. And when you are God, individuated, and I'm talking now as the soul is the part of you that elected to come into this lifetime, elected to come into the false matrix itself, knowing that you could do this, knowing that this was a cinch for you, because underneath it all, you're an all-knowing being, and you knew what it would take to ascend. You knew that what it would take would be the stripping away of the false identity, stripping away of the layers of illusion that you had to put on. It was kind of like, okay, you want to get into the false matrix, you got to put on all of these coats and all of these cloaks, and we got kind of heavy and kind of dense and kind of puffy, and we couldn't move around really easily anymore because we had all these layers of illusion over us. So the decloaking, the letting go is where we're at right now. We call this dark night of the soul. We call this spiritual awakening. It's the letting go of what you are not and what you never needed to be in order to reveal what you've always been. You don't have to become ascended. You have to remember that you already are underneath all of the disguises, which means you got to stop clinging to the identity that the disguise holds. That's a big one. So you might want to think about that. You might want to think to yourself, what is my disguise? What is my persona? What is my personality? And what am I portraying in the world that I'm clinging to? That if I were to let go of, I would hold on to it and go, no, I can't let go of that. Because here's the thing, you already know this. Let something go, and if it comes back, it's yours. And if it doesn't, it never was. You know this. You know that you can't actually ever let go of the truth of what you are. But if you empty out the whole bucket of what you think you are, then what remains is the truth. So what I'm describing to you is the journey to ascension. What I'm describing to you right now is the college, the many years worth of college that you're going to. That's the personal ascension journey. That's the letting go of the many layers, letting go of the stories, emptying the bucket, and going through a process of getting real with yourself, a process of getting incredibly authentic. That's what all of this is doing. It's refining you until all that's left is the light of the true self. At that point, you're ready to participate in the mass ascension moment. And it is a moment. You're in the build up to it. And then just before that massive ejector that comes from the sun, just before that moment, and I'm talking about days before, like 3 days, because I know you've heard about that as well, the 3 days of darkness. There is this sucking in, like an inhale. There is the sun drawing in all of its life force, all of its light, and it's getting ready to echo it out. That's what breaks the false matrix, good and solid, good and proper. That's what ends the era. That's the mark of all that we came to do being accomplished. I've answered the questions before, but I know you're going to ask them, what happens to the people that don't ascend? They veer off into a 4D planet. There's a video called The Two Worlds Split, which covers that in a little bit more detail. But the short story is they drop their body at the ascension point because at the ascension point, this great flash happens, right? So we've had 3 days of darkness, more or less. We've had this massive eruption of light that comes from the sun. At that point, your body meets the incoming light with its own light. At that point, a magical, mystical process happens. Your light body erupts from you. It erupts like an energy field or a force field that surrounds you. It encapsulates you in a bubble of light. And that becomes your healing chamber. That becomes your sanctuary, and you live inside that sanctuary in a timeless bubble with your guides, with your crew, with your family, with your dogs, with your cats, with all who are ascending with you until you're calibrated. And at the same time, the earth is undergoing her purification on the surface, which is where all the pollution gets cleaned up and all of the cities and all of the garbage and all of the plastic and all of the from the false matrix gets evaporated into light. This is a process of alchemy. The sun is that trigger. So to answer the question, what about those who haven't done the preparation and they can't emit that bubble around them? They will leave this life. This will then be, because this is the end of an era. And at the end of the era, there's always the beginning of a new one. But right now we got 2 choices. 2. You stay on the path that you're on right now, which means you stay on the planet that you're on right now, and you emerge, which is almost like a rebirth, but it's in the same body, just a higher frequency version of it. You emerge as the 5D self living in a pristine Eden, which is what Earth was always designed to be. Absolutely wholesome, nurturing. Can you imagine living on a planet and being nurtured, but at the same time nurturing the planet itself, because you're in symbiosis? And the best part is everybody else is too, and you know that. I think that's a big part of what people long for. They long for being in a space where other people can live in reverence and love alongside them. Those people who haven't done the preparation, they will move off into a 4D body. But don't you dare judge. Don't you dare think you know who that's going to be. You cannot imagine the surprise that most people are going to have when they go, but my God, this spiritual guru, the spiritual person, how come they veered off? How come they took the alternate path? They didn't stay in this lane. This lane is the lane that stays on the planet and is purified into 5D. They veered off into a 4D planet. That's what I'm talking about when I say veering off. That is for those people that don't make ascension because at the soul level they've decided not to. They move off into another planet that's already been established, already set up, and that's where they go. Will you be able to go and see them? Possibly as a spirit guide, yes, because we cannot intervene with their free will. Their free will is, okay, I've got to learn this for myself. I think that's so difficult for us as human beings to get that concept. How can you just leave someone to learn something for themselves? Isn't that cruel? No. You learn something for yourself, and then you embody it. And when you embody the learning within you, then you become a beacon of it and an example of it, and then you ripple it into all of creation. And the thing is, what we're dealing with here, when I talk about people, beings, we're not dealing with what you think people are necessarily, which is ignorant and mindless and stupefied and victims and incapable. You're dealing with God in an individuated form who's forgotten that they're God. And I've said this before and I've taken heat for it before, but I still stand by it. And that is, the universe doesn't care how many lifetimes of victimhood a person sits in saying, poor me, I can't do this. Oh my gosh, the self-pity, the victimhood. Look at me, I'm so broken, I can't be put back together. I'm just going to sit here and suffer. The universe doesn't care if that takes you a day or multiple lifetimes to stand up and go, no, I'm in charge of my outcome and I don't have the answers, but I'm willing to find them. That's the recipe right there for success. It's the taking of personal responsibility. It's not the perfect outcome. It's, am I willing to take personal responsibility for myself? That's the foundation of the Plasma Light Tribe. So for those of you who are in my online community, the Plasma Light Tribe, where I take you and nurture you and grow with you and give you every tool that you need to grow into the 5D version of yourself, that's the foundation of the Plasma Light Tribe. It's personal responsibility all the way. And from time to time, I get a harrowing talk from me. The Plasma Light Tribe members will tell you all about that. They'll tell you all about how very straight and direct I can be, because that's a realm which is a very, very sacred space. And it doesn't support anyone to sugarcoat the truths that they've come there for. If somebody gets offended by me, I'm okay with it. If somebody leaves because I delivered too harsh a truth in too harsh a tone, I'm still okay with it, because I understand what the end result is. The end result is the opportunity for liberation from the false matrix. For those who are staying on this path, there are some harsh truths, but they're also beautiful. Those are the things, the harsh truths, that lead to the bliss that we're about to co-create together. Those that veer off, they're going to take their time waking up again, but there's a big difference. They're not going to go into the level of slumber and manipulation that we've had here in the false matrix. So definitely go and watch the 2 videos that I did prior to this one, where I describe a whole lot more about the Ascension process and the mechanics of the Ascension process. I'll link them in the video description box for you. Let me know in the comments below what questions you've got, but do me the great service of watching those 2 videos first, because your questions might probably have been answered already from my heart. I hope you feel it all the way into yours. So much love.